And I'm going to begin by trying to echo that call for all of us to come together and say what we've currently got is just wrong. With the HS2 funding and other funding over many years, and the Northern Powerhouse rail plans as well. All of that is wrong. And it shouldn't rely on changes of government, by the way. We need to either look at that issue of devolving the rail investment here to Wales, and I would take issue strongly with Natasha's point. Simply allocating it to a body where there is no democratic input would be a travesty. We had a debate earlier this afternoon about scrutiny of decisions on spending of money. We devolve that decision-making, that money comes here, and then we allocate it, and then scrutiny committees then can actually take to task the allocation of that to north or south or east or west or whatever. That's the way to do it. It shouldn't rely on what government is in power in Westminster. Now, there are ways to do this. It could be devolution. It could be actually engagement with the Treasury. The big villain in this, I have to say, is the Treasury. The Treasury makes top-down decisions and says that's the way it is. And yes, they're instructed by number 10, but they're instructed by the Chancellor as well. And if the Chancellor decides HS2 funding is England and Wales spend, or that the Northern Powerhouse rail is England and Wales spend, so be it. There's no input here from Welsh ministers whatsoever, or anybody else. Now, surely that has to change. The stage of devolution that we're at means the Treasury has to be open. Now, I would suggest that the intergovernmental machinery that has been put forward over the last year or so, which is still bedding in, might be one way forward. But of course there are exclusions within that intergovernmental machinery for Treasury decisions. What a surprise. So I suspect, unless the ministers this afternoon can disabuse me of this, I don't think there is a way forward within the intergovernmental machinery to actually raise this and say, either currently or next time there's a HS2 or next year's financial settlement, let's get in there and let's agree what the proportion is. Should we have full consequentials from it, or should there be an agreement? For example, as UK governments have traditionally argued, if you invest in the South Eastern Rail, there is a benefit to people who are travelling from North Wales and South Wales. Well, let's actually discuss that and negotiate what benefit does come to Wales, and then say, but it's not the entirety. It's not the entirety. We want 80% here. We want 90% coming back. The practical reality of this, and Luke, I'm glad you introduced the debate because you know some of the hard realities on the ground for us. We have been waiting for something like 15 years for the investment in the electronic signalling of the Maesteg Loop. It has been promised time and time again. It's been taken away. And I actually remember being told for investment in the southeast of England. And I think, well, fantastic. I'll visit the southeast of England. I'll go there to Westminster for my committee things. I'll have some benefit. But it's my, I was about to swear, but it's my constituents in my stake want that electrified. We've got a guy who goes up and down the stairs with an old-fashioned Victorian key to change the signalling, to allow it to go. Why is that important? Because we can only have one train an hour on the track. Until we deal with that, and we have the straightening of the loop around the Tondy thing, which we've been promised as well, we can't actually have a half-hourly train. Pencoed level crossing, we've got to deal with that. We've had no investment of that to the levelling up. This is exactly why we either need to have the ability to negotiate with Treasury to say, let's agree what should be coming to Wales and what should stay in England, or alternatively, we devolve the funding of it. But I welcome the debate today. I think it would be good to have unanimity from this place that we need to change this one way or the other, because we're looking at £5 billion in terms of the HS2 expenditure in Wales consequential, £1 billion from the Northern Powerhouse rail potentially, and that ignores the historic underspends here in Wales that will affect every one of us in our constituencies in different Wales. Professor Mark Barry of Cardiff University, who played, indeed, a key role in the development of South Wales Metro and is acknowledged as somebody who speaks with authority on this, has estimated that the UK government is now investing 200 times more in England's rail network than in Wales. You can't argue that on a population basis or any other factual basis whatsoever. It's just unfair. Cardiff University report in 2021 concluded that if rail was devolved, Wales would have received an extra £514 million in investment in its rail infrastructure in 2020. Now, that's significant. That is enormous for the Tondy Loop, for my sake, for North Wales and everywhere else. But fundamentally, we must agree that this has now got to change. Top-down decisions that tell us what we get and what we don't get on rail is no longer sustainable whatsoever. So I would ask the Minister, I would ask the Senedd members to strongly support this today and to look at the options that we have for going forward, and for ministers to argue for those options with Treasury, which at the moment just seems to be a law unto itself.